Hi, and welcome to Community Leader Podcast, Episode 10. I'm your host, Todd Welsh, and today I'm excited to talk to Michelle Peck, the Executive Director at The Garage. Michelle came here from Great Bend, Kansas. We talk a little bit about how she arrived here. We talk about her 10 years she spent with Big Brothers and Big Sisters and her passion for helping the children in the community. Then we dive into behind the scenes of the Auto Museum, The Garage. If you've not been there yet, it's located in downtown Salina on 5th Street. We talk about how it was created, the founding fathers, some of the sponsors. We talk about the venues that are coming, and right now they have the truck show. So let's talk a little bit to Michelle Peck and learn about her community leadership for Salina, Kansas. So welcome, Michelle Peck, to the Community Leader Podcast. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've had you booked for about 30 days.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm learning that I've got to book people out 30 days. I had been calling them the day before and saying, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And so now I realize people are a little bit more busier than I am. And so I've got to give them 30 days notice to get in here. So thank you for putting that in your schedule. So tell me before we get started about yourself, your family, and a little bit what's going on.
Well, I grew up in Great Bend, Kansas, moved here in 2002. I am married to Aaron Peck. I have 2 kids, 2 dogs, a couple donkeys, several fish, and a couple beehives.
Wow. And you stored the donkeys out at, which we'll get into a little bit later, out at the Bell Tree Farm that you own.
Yes.
Of the donkeys out there.
Mm-hmm. I do work full time. I am the director of the garage.
Okay.
We also have Bell Tree Farm and Blue Terra Chemical.
Yeah. So you're busy.
Just a little.
Yeah. And then I noticed you stopped off at Mocha's before you came.
I do have a slight addiction. This is a medium skinny vanilla latte, sugar-free with an extra shot of espresso.
Nice. I can see the extra shot of espresso already coming out.
Yes.
Yeah. So the reason we mentioned that is because we're not going to call Jason Hansen, but my buddy Aaron Drussel out of Utah is doing a podcast, something exactly like this. And we're having a bet of who can get the first sponsor. Oh. And we came up with on our own, not even calling them, the Mocha's Minute. Okay.
That would be good.
And so it was funny when you said you were stopping to get something and you called and asked me if I wanted something. But the funny thing is, I don't drink coffee.
Oh, they have lots of other
I know they have
things.
lots of other stuff. But so anyway, we're looking for a sponsor. We're going to start out with and see if anybody watching this will call Jason Hansen or shoot him a text and be like, hey, are you going to do the sponsorship? So here's what I need. I need some certificates so that my guests can go ahead of time and get their free mochas, and I need him to pay me $1 because I have to have a paid sponsorship. Like, that's not paid. Those are just in-kind gifts.
You need a paid sponsorship.
I need a paid sponsorship. Yeah, like I need $1 and maybe 10 or 15 certificates for free mochas for them to get. And then we'll do the Mocha's Minute.
Well, Mocha's is extremely generous in the Salina community,
Yeah.
so I feel like your chances are pretty good.
Well, I know he watches them because I see him comment on them, and he's been asked a couple of times. He's on the queue.
Okay.
But the guy's so busy, we just can't get him. So really, once I get him in the hot seat, that will be a neat little interview as well.
Well, I wish you the best.
Yeah, we're hoping for the best.
And my Mocha's is good.
Okay, so let's go back to that's the end of our Mocha's Minute, by
Okay.
the way. And now we're back to Michelle Peck. And so I'm trying to think of how I start these, of how I know you. And I don't remember how we actually met. I've known about you in the community. I don't know if it was, let's start out where I remember you from the most, which is Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
For sure. I was there for 10 years. So
Okay.
yes, Big Brothers, Big Sisters here in the Salina community. I had a great board, Bull for Kids' Sake. I met a lot of people through that.
Yeah. How did you get to Salina, though? So you're from Great Bend, but how did you move to Salina?
I took my very first job. I went to K-State, Manhattan,
Okay.
and then I interviewed and I looked all over the state. I was a teacher in business, secondary education business, and was going to go to Kansas City and decided Salina was just the perfect place to live. So I taught high school business classes at South High. They also suckered me into being the Peppers dance coach, and I had never danced before.
I could see that.
No, I didn't even know anything about dancing.
Oh,
So
it's all good.
It was great. So I taught for a year and a half, and then realized I quickly that was not the right setting for me. So the business
The
side,
dancing or the business side?
both. The business side was great. And I actually did marketing for American Family Insurance for the
didn't know that.
state of Kansas. I worked with Darren Newshafer as an agent. That's where I really got my start. And so on the business side of things.
See, I love doing these now because, again, I feel like I've known you only from starting at Big Brothers. I had no idea you were a business teacher at South,
Yes.
the Peppers dance teacher,
Yes.
and then American Family Insurance.
Yep. That's
like
where I
that.
met Jeff Wells. I would go in and do consulting and marketing with his team, or the Tim Newells, or all the
Yeah.
agents across the state.
We just had Jeff Wells on the
I know.
previous
He's
one.
funny. He's a good one.
Yeah, it worked out well. Okay, and so then how did you get from there then to, so after American Family, then did you go to be the executive director of Big Brothers?
Nope. There's one more in between
Okay.
there. I did consulting with Mark Skidmore and Christy Balthazar at Sunflower Insurance Group. And so that's where I got my experience working on the major account team with the large corporations throughout the state of Kansas. So my first relationships with Berg Camp or X-Line or these different commercial accounts. And
I see.
so I did that. And then I had the opportunity to become the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters and kind of give back. My kids were at an age where I didn't want to travel as much. And so it worked out perfect.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that because I know you have some history of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, which the podcast is about community leaders and giving back to the community. We're going to talk about the garage a little bit later and how you're giving back that way. But really, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, what year did you start there?
Oh, gosh. 2010,
Okay.
maybe? 2008.
And you were the executive director for how long there?
About 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
So I think my passion for kids, whether it was teaching high school or mentoring, that's just always been important to me.
That's what when I think of you, I still remember you as Big Brothers and Big Sisters for a 10-year period that's there. And one thing that I remember most about you was your passion about children and matching those kids. I can remember whether you were coming in for a donation or no matter where I ran into you at the community, if you were doing a talk at Ambucks or something like that, your passion for matching up these children and putting a father figure or an adult figure in with a child who didn't have one was really a passion you had.
It really was. I also think I'm a professional matchmaker now, so I also try to match adults with adults or different things. But no, working with those kids and building those relationships and watching them succeed, not all the matches turned out great. I mean, they come from rough backgrounds, but the ones that did were really, really neat.
Good.
Yeah.
After Big Brothers and Big Sisters, you got recruited away or did you leave and then where did you go to from there? What was your next opportunity?
So I got to work with Marty Kramer over at St. Francis. And
Okay.
so now I got to just do development. At Big Brothers Big Sisters, I was doing payroll, hiring, marketing. I mean, I was doing it all. And so I just got to kind of hone in on the sweet spot. So I was hired by the foundation at St. Francis, and I would travel now all over the United States working with donors and just doing development. And it was incredible to meet these people. I mean, I would be flying to LA or Florida, and the folks that gave to help the kids in Kansas in foster care and their backstories or learning about what they invented. One of the gentlemen invented the ATM that was a big donor and still a supporter. So that was pretty fun.
So for the listeners who are not familiar with St. Francis, tell us like not know what to say what you did, but give us a background on St. Francis because again, it leads into kids
Yeah.
and community.
It
And
does.
so that's why, again, when you're perfect for this podcast is because what I want the listeners to find out is your service that you're giving, even though it's a paid service, and your talents that you have led you down this path from 10 years at Big Brothers and Big Sisters, working with children, St. Francis, working with children, and then we're going to transition over to the garage, which is working with bigger children.
Right.
Yeah, that we're going to find out later on once they deal with cars. But tell us a little bit about St. Francis and what you found out, what they do in the community.
Oh, so St. Francis works within the kids that don't have a home to stay in. So these kids that are extremely vulnerable, they're in foster care or they're in adoptive programs. They were abused and molested and had some of the most terrific backgrounds. And so, yes, they're government funded, but those specialty programs like a gardening program out at the treatment center here in Salina, or when they were doing art enrichment, those things weren't subsidized. And so being able to help raise funds for that, or if these kids in foster care needed orthodontics. I mean,
Yeah.
that wasn't covered. So helping raise money to be able to get the kids and have a more of a normal life, even things such as driver's ed, to be able to get them to be productive citizens of our community is what we were raising money for.
And you were, when you said you would travel around, so you specifically went into just raising money for them?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's probably going to transition in, I think, tell me then, let's transition from St. Francis in, was the garage next?
The garage was next.
Okay.
Yes.
And did they come get you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no intentions of running a car museum. My degree, my background, I know nothing about cars, but it actually has worked out really well. Got a couple phone calls and decided it's a really cool project, a really cool space, about a $7 million project. I knew the entire board of directors, all people that I very much looked up to that have been mentors to me. And so I interviewed with them and I got to come in on the ground floor. I mean, the building was completely a shell. We were able to work with the designers and the architects and move things around. My grandfather was a home builder in Great Bend, and so that's always been just part of who I am. I think if I was going to have a new job, it'd be a realtor, but that construction side, I really
You may want to rethink that part.
I know. But no, that was just fascinating, and being able to construct this space to bring to the Salina community and make it where children and families and make sure it was a space that people could explore and play and not just some stuffy old car museum with the same cars in it.
And I think, again, using your background with children, because now when you go into the garage, you've made it kid-friendly with the activities, and you have the game that they can play, the driving, I forget what you would call
our
that.
driving simulators.
Simulators.
The Legos, the Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
I just had to make sure if I was going to be there for the rest of my days, it was something that I would have fun with, or young families would come in. And so that was fun to build.
Yeah. So for those who are listening from out of town, I mean, we're up to, 16 states right now of people tuning in. I'm
Really?
kidding. Yeah, you can.
I'm like, wait.
But
After today, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, we're going to get this one out. But what's the address of the garage so people know what we're talking. So the garage is a car museum located in downtown Salina. So if we look at our map, you're like over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're on what, 5th Street?
The address is actually 134 South 4th.
Okay.
But we have entrances on 5th and 4th, so people can get to us both ways.
Okay. So to give them an idea, the train track goes down 4th Street.
And it is an active track still.
Yeah.
It is.
So you got to be careful where you park the cars because the train will just plow over the cars.
It will, yes. We have actually had to move a car while the train is coming before. That was intense.
Yeah. So let's go all the way back. So Tom Pestinger, would Tom be what I'm calling the founder or the guy with the vision and the idea?
Yes, him and Trace Walker. So there was a group of people called Salina Vision 2020. They started meeting in 2014. They were looking at how to keep Salina relevant and on the map and to have their grandkids come back and live here and raise a family. And so that committee was formed and they decided to go after some STAR bond funding. Okay, so about $170 million of STAR bond funding to go into downtown Salina to make it what it is today. The original grant got declined because they needed some sort of an attraction to bring people to Salina for tax purposes. Okay, so Trace and Tom are driving around trying to think, what kind of an attraction can we build? Tom has been a lover of cars since he was little and jokingly said, how about a car museum? And it stuck. Yeah. And so that's really how this started. Then as Tom serving on that 2020 committee took that piece of the redevelopment and really brought it to fruition.
Yeah.
Pulled together a board of people.
So I was talking to Tom about it. This is a great story, and I wanted to talk to him when he comes on. But I said, tell me how the car museum came about. And pretty much the same story. They were looking for tax revenue. Trace and Trace, they came up with the car museum. And Tom said he would drive up and down looking for locations for this museum. And he was driving down Iron Street in front of the community theater coming into downtown. And when he got close to the train tracks, he looked over and he saw that building, and he said it was that moment that he went, that's the building. And at that time, Ken Ritz was in it, the recycling.
Uh-huh.
But like I can envision that now of Tom driving down and looking over and seeing that. And a lot of times in my life and maybe in yours, everything that's going on, it's that moment that changes without, I always think of little weird stuff. If he would have taken a left at Oakdale and went a different way at that moment, the clarity of what he was thinking about, he would have, the garage maybe never have come to fruition if he wasn't driving at that moment.
Right.
Everything is little moments in life. And so that sticks with me when Tom says it was at that moment I saw the garage and the museum in that building. And like you said, now the rest is history, and it's a $7 million amazing project that if you haven't been through the garage yet, it's really exciting.
Oh, it's beautiful. Or if any of those property owners, there were 8 different properties that had to be secured. If any one of them wouldn't have believed in the vision and the mission, they wouldn't have had to sell.
Right.
Or if we would have went with a different contractor or different architects or different designers, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Or if the city didn't get involved, because the city owned the parking lot. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So you had to convince the city, or the board did, to close an entire parking lot, which we know parking downtown is tough anyway. So imagine going in front of them and saying, hey, we want to close down 40 or 50 parking spots so we can build. And it's really the entrance. When you walk in, I'm trying to paint the picture for people who haven't been there or to remember it. Like when you walk in the front doors, whether it's off 4th or 5th, that was a parking lot.
Yeah, it bridged all those warehouses together. So that was the new construction. All of the rest was renovation. And though there were 8 properties, those warehouses were built in the 1920s.
Okay. So where, and maybe you can't talk about this, maybe you can, where did the money come from to build the garage, and how did it come about? Were there grants raised? Is some of it through the Star Bond, tax money, and then is there some private donors? So talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so perfect. So out of the Star Bond project, maybe the $170 million, the garage got 4. Okay, so the garage got $4 million. The problem was COVID was happening during that time. So our estimates for the construction, let's say in 2019, it was X number of dollars. Well, then when they actually started building, everything had doubled. So that really is what kind of changed the scope of things. And so the private funding really had to start.
Because really we thought it was going to be $4 million to build.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be $7 million.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but that was also, I got in there and was able to redesign a few things that might have cost
so you added
a little bit of extra money. Well, I've been in the teaching world, so being able to add the classrooms or some of the play areas or the beer wall and the kitchen, that was important for us to do events. But no, the private funding. So that's where they hired me and Tom and the community to put on a capital campaign to raise the rest of the money. That was from individual donors, grants, business partners. Yeah. And we have about $300,000 left out of the $7.1 million. So that place is almost completely paid off. Wow. Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's give a little shout out to some of the sponsors then who stepped forward, and I hope you don't forget any of them. But so, for example, not all of the sponsors. I'm looking for the ones like the Lincoln Library, which was McCarther.
So the ones that came in to really make this thing happen, without them, this would not have worked. We had Vortex and the Young family. We also had Jason Ingermanson, JRI Hospitality. We had Law MacArthur. We had Bennington State Bank. We have the Hemmer family, we have the Triplet family, we had the Wilson family, we had the Bergkamp family, we had the Morrison family and the Marshall family, and the Exline family, and of course the Pestinger family.
And the Pestinger family,
yes.
Yeah.
Without those key founders and families, this would not be what it is today.
Yeah. And it's cool to see some of them have wings and libraries and stuff like that inside there that are named after them, some naming rights that they have. So,
the foundations, though, I can't forget. Those are kind of the key families in the Salina community that you would know. But the Sunderland Foundation, the Dane Hansen Foundation, the Stiefel Foundation, there is a number, the Earl Bain Foundation. Yeah. Those were all.
But see, that's why you were perfect for this job, because all of those foundations you had dealt with before, correct? Like not all of them, but Big Brothers Big Sisters. Yeah. I mean, the Dane, that foundation has been around, and people could go get grants from them.
Well, and they all wanted to be a part of a project in the community that would really make a difference. And I think that was easy. I mean, it was being able to tell the story of what we're trying to do, to bring people to the community, to teach people about cars, to relive the past and the good old days, but drive the future of technology and automation. Yeah. So that's been fun.
So I've heard rumors, but I don't even know this is true, so I'm going to ask you. It's nothing super secret.
Okay.
But when you walk in there, the Pestinger side is over there, and they change that out every 3 months?
Yes.
But the left-hand side, is it true then the KKA club, or do they choose what cars go in there? The lead sleds? No, the lead sled doesn't own that part?
No, that's the Dane Hansen Family Gallery. So the south side is the Dane Hansen Family Gallery. The north side is the Pestinger Family Gallery. We change the Pestinger Gallery every quarter. The Dane Hansen Gallery, we rotate that out every 6 months to a year. Right now, as long as the Lead Sled Spectacular keeps coming to Salina and bringing thousands and thousands of people to our community, we'll dedicate the south side in that Dane Hansen Gallery to the custom cars, to the cool hot rods, lead sleds, the pinstriping. It just all really makes sense.
Okay. That's where that comes from then, because I noticed all of those were like lead sled, but it makes total sense because the lead sled is probably one of our largest events bringing people to Salina every year.
For sure. And Jerry Titus, he is the president of the KKOA, and he is on our board as a volunteer. Yep.
Okay. So that's how that left-hand side goes, and then the Pestinger one. So you first opened up with, was it the muscle cars first?
No, actually, before that, it was called Horses to Horsepower. And we had a $2 million Duesenberg from St. Louis on the turntable. That was just a beautiful show.
Okay. So that was the first one. And then it went into muscle car.
Yes, that is everyone's favorite.
Yeah. And then now we want to go back in the muscle car again. And then we're going to do muscle cars.
Yes. Like, it'll come back around.
Okay. So we did muscle cars. And then we went into, again, I'm going to mess them up. So you just say
the checkered flag. It was a racing show.
Yes.
That was very fun.
Okay. And then then the last one was the medical.
It was Driven to Serve.
Driven to Serve.
Everyone's like, medical Driven to Serve? What was that? That was weird. That was one of our highly attended shows, and we did this on purpose. It was during the winter months. We had Paw Patrol in there, and so we had every preschool class, kindergarten class, all these moms and families would come in over the winter and see the fire trucks and play with the Paw Patrol, and it was great. It wasn't for everyone, but now we have the truck show, so that's our summer show right now.
Yeah, so let's talk about the truck show, because I've not been over there yet. I need to get over there to the truck show. What I've heard, so Ashley MacArthur was here, and she's on your board, right?
She is, yes. We're good friends.
Yeah, so it was a great time having her here, and she loves to talk about cars and automobiles.
And she actually knows what she's talking about.
Of course,
unlike myself.
But she was talking about this special truck that was going to come, and she almost spilled the beans. And it's a drift. Is it a drift truck?
It is, and it's actually here in the museum. The fact it's even in Kansas or in the United States is a big deal. It's our first.
Why do you say in the United States? I don't know anything about this truck.
So it is the Huna Truck. That was Ken Block's Huna Truck. It's from Canada, or where it's being housed now. It's sponsored by Hoonigan, Monster. It is the craziest drifting hooning truck there is. Ken Block was this driver. He passed away in January. So this is the first time his Huna truck has been out since his passing. It has been unbelievable to support the people that follow Ken Block and that claim to be Hoonigans and have these stickers on their car. It's a whole culture in its own.
Oh, that makes sense now. I've seen the Hoonigan stickers before. Okay.
People have been traveling from all over, almost like paparazzi, coming into the museum, taking pictures, FaceTiming their friends saying, oh my God, it's really here. It's actually here in the museum.
Wow. In Salina, Kansas.
In Salina. There have been folks that have been choked up, who have cried, who have just stood in awe of this vehicle and the history behind it, the legacy that Ken Block made in drifting and the things that he did, pushing himself to the limits, and the builders, Detroit builders, they're actually going to be coming out. Detroit Speed is who built the truck. So they're going to be coming out in August to kind of do a fun thing with it. So
yeah. So let's go deeper with that. How does that truck end up in Salina, Kansas? Like, who makes the phone calls and who lines up well, let's talk about that one specifically. Okay. Then I want to get into who chooses the vehicles so you submit maybe to your vehicle to be in there, and who chooses that. So first of all, let's stay on topic here. Okay. How did that truck get here?
It's all about connections. Every single one of these vehicles that come in, it's a connection. It's a guy, or a guy who knows a guy. It's like a little treasure hunt. So my neighbors down the street, Dwayne and Angie Keith, they're good friends. Their son Thatcher, I've known him for years. Thatcher Keith works for RM Sotheby, big, huge car auction company. Thatcher has been unbelievably supportive in helping us build the museum. He wants to give back to his community, even though he lives in Canada. Okay. So he said, Michelle, what's your next show? I said, trucks. I said, what kind of truck do you have for me? He's like, oh, I've got one for you. And he's telling me all about this truck. He knows I know nothing.
Right.
But then I could hear his passion. And as I'm Googling while he's talking to me, I'm like, this is incredible. And so Thatcher Keith is how this truck is here in Salina, Kansas.
Wow.
Because he believes in the preservation and the stories. And he grew up here. You know, he graduated from Central High School. He just wanted to give back to the community that far away.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, I'm going to have to Google the truck now because you've got me excited about it. Because when even Ashley talked about it and I saw that it was there, I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about drifting trucks or whatever. But to hear the story of that is probably going to be, or to go actually see the truck now and have the whole story of it would be super cool.
Yeah, it is. And the rest of the trucks we have, this is our largest show. We have over 40 trucks packed into the north side of the museum. There is a monster truck in which we had to take the wheels off the truck, not me.
Somebody did. Yeah,
we had to take the wheels off the truck to get it into the building. And it's called Split Decision. And Spencer out of Beloit, he farms, and half of his equipment is John Deere, half of it is Case. And so Split Decision is this monster truck that he created, and it's like half of each of the different implements.
Nice. It rings true. I was in a band called Split Decision, so it's a great name.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
You need to come by and take a picture with it.
Exactly. We'll get the band back together.
Yes.
Take a picture in front of Split Decision.
It is.
And then that'll be our next when we ever play again to get back together.
There's also
we'll be there.
There is also a truck in there that's one of one. It's a 1911 Mercury, and it's one of one, and it's in the museum, and you can actually get on it, hit the little Oga horn, and get your picture on it.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun.
How do the trucks or any cars get in there? I mean, do you have like 200 people sending you applications? You have to narrow it down to 20 or 40?
We do.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how that happens.
So we've kind of streamed the application process. We have QR codes. You can go onto our website and you can upload one of your pictures. So we know what the next 4 shows are already. We know we're going tops down, anything without a top. We know we're looking for cool stuff from the fabulous 50s. We know we're looking for Corvettes, and we're also looking for oddities. So people have been going online, submitting stuff, coming into the museum, sending us pictures. And then we put a committee together, and we say that really so no one gets mad at me or Tom or Matt or any of my team.
Right.
So we really do have a committee. We go through them. We're looking for all different educational elements, colors, size, connections, and then we will determine how many. It's not always 40. I mean, it could be 20, it could be 29, and then we'll let them know.
Yeah.
So,
neat.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to submit, remember the Tweety Bird that we came up with, so I want to mention that again, and I just couldn't make it happen, but racing, back when you had the racing one going on, my cousin owns the Tweety Bird, which some of the listeners will know, which is like this yellow 57 or 55 or something car, and it would it'd be a drag strip, and everybody would know. Like if it pulled up, everybody was like, "Oh, that thing is going to win." It's just who's ever going to come in second. And when I tell people that I have that car, or I don't have it, but my cousin has it, and I know where it is, they're in amazement. So Tom and I were like, Tom offered to drive to Denver to get this car.
Oh, we wanted Tweety Bird
to bring it back
time.
And put it in the show. And so I'm somehow I'm going to get that car here. Like I'm going to figure out whatever show is going to come up or whatever. Like I'm going to get my cousin to bring that car out because everybody who I talked to from that era of racing are like, oh my gosh, we totally remember that car.
Yeah, we had pictures of it. There was also Sylvester.
Sylvester was the 57 Chevy that would run with it.
Oh, yeah, I learned all of this.
Yeah, no, it's a cool story.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about the garage is that there's a lot of cool stories that come out. People can get excited about cars again. I know I've bought a '68 Camaro, and I go down there on Cars and Coffee sometimes. Mm-hmm. And park out front, and I guess the cool thing to do is pop the hood. Like I don't come from a car thing. I was like, but now I'm kind of into them. You know what I mean? Like I
It's kind of fun.
love the old cars.
And you need to bring the snow cone machine because that's kind of like a car. It drives itself, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that. Why do you have a snow cone mobile?
Why do you have a beer pedal
Okay,
wagon?
fine,
Okay, let's. We could talk about the beer pedal wagon and the snow cone machine forever, but we do have snow cone. We're going to bring it down.
Okay,
we'll get free
that'll
snow
be fun.
cones. You orchestrate that. SalinaHomes.com will bring that down for a Saturday Kids Day or whatever you want to do.
See how easy this is?
Yeah, I know.
We'll just do it on air live.
Yeah.
What else do I want from you?
Yeah. But then I need in return one free pedal car where I can go down Santa Fe.
Uh-huh.
Now, let's talk about that real quick, though. Is that for rent?
Okay, so it's not for rent. We just do it on the weekends, and it is we call it the GT12, the Garage Trolley, and it has 12 seats. So the GT12, it's sponsored by Jason Ingermanson and their properties, and so we were able, it's pedal-powered electric vehicle will tootle down Santa Fe and come back to the garage.
So 12 people can get on this trolley cart looking thing, but the only way it moves is you have to pedal.
Yes.
All 12 people have to be pedaling. So we've seen these before that's on there. Most of the time there's alcohol involved. Is there not, can you not do alcohol with this thing?
Not yet. However, it is permitted by the city of Salina. They've been very supportive. I just haven't pushed the alcohol thing yet. We wanted to just keep it on the road.
Okay. Well, maybe
But
we'll work on
that'll
that.
be the next.
We had the mayor on here last time, so maybe we can get it in front of the.
Hoppick was on. Yep.
Hoppick was here.
He was a supporter of it.
Yeah. So
he's also a member of the museum.
Yeah. So we're gonna see if we can get the trolley. Maybe we'll just serve beer out of the snow cone machine.
We could do that.
And then put the snow cone machine on the trolley.
Now the trolley can stop at different bars and restaurants downtown.
Okay.
So we could kind of do a little crawl.
Okay. So how do we get that again? So if somebody's listening and they wanted to rent that, or they can't rent it,
They
or
can't
what?
rent it. So we don't know the logistics quite yet. We've launched it a couple times. We'll take it out this weekend. It's really a marketing thing. It's fun for the community. It says, follow us to the garage. We don't really want to be a beer party wagon dealer.
Okay. So tell me the next one. So Trucks is there now.
Trucks is our summer show, and then the Corvette Show. People are really excited about the Corvettes coming in September.
Yeah, that's going to be, because there's so many Corvette clubs around. I mean, you're going to be just swamped with those.
Oh, yeah. Here next month, the Corvette Club from Wichita and the Corvette from Kansas City, they're all making a trek to Salina with their Corvettes to like check the place out. And people have been just coming from all over.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit more about what you do. I want to talk about Bell Tree Farm because that's such a staple thing in the community where most people go get their Christmas trees.
Yes.
And you and your husband purchased that.
Yes, I feel like we're running another nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm sure it sounded like a great idea. Like, it's for sale. Let's buy it. I mean, your husband looks great in the red jumpsuit, so I'm sure that's why he wanted to buy it.
It's actually a business. It's part of our plan. It's an investment. It's great for the kids' college. The land is a great spot here in town.
Right.
So there was a little thought behind it.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the just the staple of going out there. I remember for years and years and years when our kids were smaller, we would go out there and have our picture taken in the wreath and everything that was out there. So I wanted to mention that you were owner of that because you're keeping it going.
We are.
You know, I mean, that was the thing where I mean, someday the city will grow out there and, you know, it's like the Bell Tree Farm is going to be worth more money as land than it is selling Christmas trees.
That's our plan.
And that's the plan. Yeah, that's the ultimate plan.
We might have to move the tree location because it is. It's part of tradition in a lot of families. They would go out there, they'd get the free hot apple cider and the popcorn, and they'd stand around by the wood stove. You'd make the trek out, find the tree, cut it down.
Yeah.
And it was just something that the families do. I mean, it's part of their Christmas tradition.
Cool.
Yeah.
Final question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what's the next plan for Michelle Peck?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. I don't know. I love what I'm doing. It's been really fun. My kids are both getting ready to go off to college, so we'll kind of follow them and see what happens. I love Salina. It's been my home now for 20 plus years, and I really have just enjoyed watching downtown.
Yeah. Beautiful picture, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
such a great setting.
To be a part of that and to watch it keep going. I'm on the board for Salina Downtown Inc. and working with them, and that has been great. I'm still on the board for Salina Education Foundation, so working with the schools. I love teaching, mentoring. I don't know.
See where it brings.
I know. See what happens.
Yeah, just don't leave Salina because we need you.
No, I'm tied in. I got the
Yeah.
tree farm, our horse farm. I'm stuck. But that's why it's important to me.
Yeah.
And I hope my kids come back. And Adia right now, she has every intention to come back to Salina to live, work, and raise her family. And that's our goal.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of community leaders, I wanted to acknowledge you for all you've done over the years. A lot of stuff wouldn't be here without you having touched certain pieces of it, whether it's getting certain money for donations, whether it's helping out a child or a kid when you're years with Big Brothers. And I really wanted to acknowledge you for that, of what you've done for Salina. And thank you for stepping up and being a community leader.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Thanks for your time.
Yep.